Are you listening? Damn.
Welcome to another edition of the AFC North Talk. Here we are again, part 2 grades. Look, we have to split this into 2 shows because last week we were here for an hour and a half, and we would have been here for the whole night if we would have done.
Might be even longer today. You never know. You know,
we had the Steelers today, so you know how that was. Wait, let's go.
We're going to be in agreement on that one. It's going to be a very short one. Yeah.
But let's go right ahead. Let's actually start with the Ravens. Let's start with the Ravens, and we're gonna do the same way. I'm gonna do last for Ravens. Anyway, you will do the last for the Steelers. So I'll start with Ace. What do you thought about the Ravens draft?
Yeah, I think kicking things off with Rashad Bateman. That was a guy that I was a huge fan of coming into the draft. Obviously, when the Bengals were deciding between whether to go Panay and get a wide receiver or wide receiver and then offensive lineman. Rashad Bateman was one of those guys that I thought could potentially be there in the second round. And the more that I watched him, I kind of felt like I watched the first 2 guys. I really love those guys. And I felt like he was the leader in the club for the next level of wide receivers. And you guys also know whenever I've talked about the Ravens on here, I've always criticized the weapons that they've had in the wide receivers position specifically. And so I think Bateman was a slam dunk pick for them. I actually thought that they would go Terrace Marshall, but I'm actually glad that they went Rashad Bateman. Well, not glad. I'm not glad because I'm a division rival, but I thought that Bateman was the right pick for them. And I think that he'll definitely be an explosive weapon for Lamar Jackson to use. And then we get into Jason Owe. I'm probably in the minority of looking at pass rushers, and I felt like in this class you had to just simply go off of traits because these weren't guys that were going to give you a bunch of production. There were no Chase Youngs in this draft. And so Owe was actually a guy that I was hoping the Bengals could get in the second round. Baltimore takes him in the first round. Obviously, I know that Sonny wasn't a huge fan of him, so that part was kind of funny for me. But I think he's a guy that you can mold there and see what he can do. I don't think that he's going to make an immediate impact. He's probably out of the mode where you're probably looking for something for him from year 2, year 3. But he still met a need because the Ravens did lose Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue and free agency. So you had to take someone. And let's just happen to be one of the guys on the board that they ended up taking a chance at. And so you're getting an athlete. I mean, you ran a 4.4. He's 6'5", 257. So you like what you're getting there, but you have to see if he develops those skills and can become an edge rusher. I don't think that he's going to become a guy like a Bud Dupree or even a TJ Watt. But if he can give you what Matt Judon was giving you, like 6 to 8 sacks eventually, I think that that's a good pick. The third pick of the draft I really liked for Baltimore. You talk about Ben Cleveland. Obviously, I had to be a student of the offensive lineman in this draft. And so that was about right where he should go at. And obviously, you guys went and got Kevin Zeitler, and you needed to still rebuild that line. Obviously, you brought in Alejandro Villanueva to be that right tackle, but you still needed to get better at the guard position. And I think that they did that as well. Round 3, Brandon Stevens, I'm not going to lie, I'm not really up to date on him. But the Tylan Wallace receiver pick, I thought that was also great value, followed up by another value pick of Shaun Wade. I'm not the biggest Shaun Wade fan because Devonta Smith pretty much murdered him in the national championship. But to get him in the 5th round, and if you can play him on the nickel corner, I think that that's great value for a team that was already loaded at the cornerback position. So those picks primarily really stood out to me. And when you talk about the other round 5 picks, I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure who Hayes is from Notre Dame or Mason is the fullback. And I think obviously with you guys being a running team, it doesn't hurt to take a fullback with that 5th round pick. But overall, I think that the Ravens had a good draft. There was one where I saw certain picks happen, and I'm like, man, how did they get this guy? How did they get that guy? And I think that they actually targeted some needs that they had, and I think they actually stacked certain positions of strength, just as the secondary. So For me, I probably would have to give the Ravens, probably give them an A draft just because they drafted 2 receivers, Bateman being one. And then obviously the Sean Wade pick, I think, flew off the charts and then being Cleveland.
Okay, so before we go to Q, 3 things. Shout out here to Edward James on his birthday. Shout out to a guy that I know, Brandon. His dad told me to wish you happy birthday in the show. And third, not letting it go. Q, happy birthday to you, man.
Happy birthday, bro.
Oh, happy birthday.
That was on the weekend, man. Celebrating all day.
Yeah. You know, I went back home for the weekend, got recharged, and now I'm ready to make some people mad on AFC North Talk, baby. By the way, we thought that it was going to be either Sonny or Tony that was going to show up here shirtless after their argument about the Ravens and Steelers. Last time this really got going, Ace out here shirtless because that can't nobody see his shirt right now. Can't nobody see
Chat's
it.
going wild with it, by the way. Love it. Chat's going wild.
But all right, let's get into the Ravens chat now. Bengal fans, I know I've been tagged a Bengal hater. We're at that part of the summer now. I'm raining y'all parade. But y'all not gonna like this because I gave y'all a lot of heck for going with a wide receiver in the top 5, right? But I'm gonna sit here and say 27. I like going wide receiver at 27, and here is why I think that wide receiver is the new running back to me. I don't think you should take wide receivers anymore in the top 10 because what have we learned about wide receivers through watching them? One, if you look at like as far as who gets a 5th-year option and the next contract from the team that drafted them, wide receivers are the most likely to not get to that point. That is the most common, if you use that as a bust percentage at position. Now, does this mean that the position isn't good? I'm not going to get into that debate if that position is meaningful or not, because different offenses utilize different positions different ways. But what I will say is that the NFL has proven that position is either volatile to scout, and we have no idea what to look for, what traits to find in people that actually make them really good wide receivers, or we have no idea how to find these wide receivers. Either way, it's a volatile position to scout for. And like running back, and I think people miss this, it's not that you shouldn't draft running backs in the first round. It's just that the more running backs you do take, the more likely you are to find one that actually hits. And a lot of the times with wide receivers, same way as running backs, right? The best running back in the NFL is either Derrick Henry or Nicholas Chubb, both 2nd-round picks. You know, the best wide receivers in the NFL, you know, yes, you get your Julio Jones. Yes, you get your A.J. Greens. You get your guys that are going to hit. But a lot of the times, you know, it's DeAndre Hopkins who hit in the late 1st round or like the 2nd round or something like that. Or guys who aren't necessarily that dude. The guys who are supposed to be that dude, Sammy Watkins was that dude in 2014. He ain't that dude, right? Like now he's playing on a prove-it deal with Baltimore. While other dudes in that class, appreciate that DJ Roach saying happy birthday and a dog check, appreciate that. But now other guys in that class have usurped that role. So what I'm saying with wide receiver, and my biggest issue with the Jamar Chase pick, is that it is really hard to say for a fact that you think Jamar Chase is going to be the best receiver or the best or one of the top 5 players in this class when that position is so volatile to draft for. And then you have a position like offensive tackle, which is one of the least volatile positions available, and you don't take it. Now, again, Raven fans are going to be like, well, Bengal fans are going to be like, yo, a right tackle was on the board when the Ravens picked Rashard Bateman. Yes, the Ravens did not go with just Tevin Jenkins. I thought that was a mistake both times they missed out on him. But I'm not going to fault them for getting a wide receiver in Rashard Bateman because, one, I like Rashard Bateman, and 2, they needed a wide receiver. At this point, they were relying on Sammy Watkins. They had not replaced sufficiently what why am I tempted to say Willie Anderson? What is his name?
Willie Snead.
Willie Snead. Okay, not Bengals great Willie Anderson. Willie Snead. And they needed somebody. Rashard Bateman is that somebody. You could put him there. You could put Sammy Watkins on the other side whenever he's healthy, and you can have Hollywood do some fun things with the ball. And now I think you're going to get a much better version and a much more useful and less frustrating version of Hollywood Brown. I actually really like that. Odafe Owe at 31. Now, y'all know I'm not the biggest Odafe Owe fan, but 31, if you're going to take him, is the right area to take him. Early second, late first. If you want to take him, you want to take him. Again, I probably would have been more fearful that they would have taken Tevin Jenkins. They didn't. I thought that would have been the pick. I don't know what they're going to do at right tackle. Maybe they think that Alejandro Villanueva is going to switch over there at 32. I have questions about that actually work. Like, people are so sure that the guy who was cut from the Steelers offensive line, well, not cut, but not
we just let him walk. We let him walk. Yeah.
He wasn't brought back for a reason. And they felt like they could replace him with Chuks Okorafor. Like, he might be bad. Yeah, I think Andrew Villanueva might be actually battling it out with Tyree Phillips or whoever they want to put over there on the right side there. And I saw Tyree in camp last year. It wasn't great. But yeah, the right tackle spot, that's an issue. But you get Ben Cleveland. I like the Ben Cleveland pick. I love Tylan Wallace in the 4th round. I thought that was great. I'm gonna just trust the Ravens also if they draft the corner in the 3rd round. I don't know. They usually work out for them. At this point, they have earned that respect. And Sean Wade is an interesting guy because he got put in a blender by Devontae Smith. But there are probably like 3 corners that did not get put in a blender by Devontae Smith, and they all went in the first 2 days of the draft. So, I can't fault him because one of the best college wide receivers ever cooked him up when Ohio State was irresponsible with how they put him on the field, put him on the one-on-one coverage and no safety help. That's not really on Sean Wade at that point. But yeah, you put him inside, you put him at nickel, he's going to be cool. If you let him play a little strong safety, he could be cool. He could be a little versatile guy for you, but he's not somebody you want to leave him a ton of space. Chuck Clark's contract might come up soon here. He could be a replacement for Chuck Clark. He's a really smart player. He's a good player when he's in coverage. He's just not somebody you want to be in a lot of man. And, put him inside. You don't have to do that. Other picks, fullback in the 5th, same level as getting a kicker. I guess, you get a fullback. Like, I know it's gimmicky. Dudes on Twitter love when you get the fullback. Oh, yeah, he's going to be a beast. Browns have 2. I've never seen them use one. We have 2 on the roster. We've never used one.
Special team.
I guess they must what they call it be wedge busters or something like that, because I don't know what else they bring there. Ben Cleveland, I talked about him. He's the big guy, looks like Braun Strowman. He's gonna play guard. He must have incredible bend because he's like 6'7".
He's gigantic.
Yeah, he is a giant man. They say he can play guard. Big dude that can play guard. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, all he's gonna have to do is be big and strong, and if he's big and strong and he plays big and strong, he'll be fine. Because that's
6'6", 343 pounds.
I mean, and he's not chubby, right? It's not like one of those guys. I mean, this dude is built.
No, that man got abs. That man has a future in a lot of different sports.
He might be the right tackle. He might be the right tackle if
I don't know if he has a feet for that.
He might be the right tackle. He might be the world wrestling champion. It could be either way. All right. If it don't work out for him, maybe somebody sign it, right? And then Ben Mason. I talked about Ben Mason. I don't know much about Dalen Hayes, but overall, I think that the Ravens had some good picks. I think they had some head scratchers. But, I would say this is a B draft. I would say this is above average. I think Rashad Bateman's going to be good. I think one of the 2, Tylan Wallace or Rashad Bateman, are going to be really good in year 1. And Odafe, look, if you want to take the high-risk, high-reward guy, take the high-risk, high-reward guy. If you're a franchise that has a history in at least developing players like the Ravens do, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, even if it's a prospect that I don't like, as long as I agree that he's a high-risk, high-reward guy. They take Rousseau here. I'm not giving that benefit because I don't think Rousseau's good. They ain't about the Ravens, baby. That's about the player. But Odafe, he's an athletic guy. The traits are there. We'll see what he turns into. In 31, look, take it out that's the trade, the Orlando Brown trade pick, and you didn't get a right tackle in this draft. And you don't mind it that much, right? And that's just what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let my personal preferences for what that team should have done get in the way as much as my grading. And I know that just makes Bengal fans happy that I said that one. But yeah, B. I'm gonna give the Ravens draft a B.
Tony.
Yeah, well, I want to go back to the point Quincy was making earlier about the why I like wide receivers don't matter or just don't draft. I think the point there, Quincy, though, is about the idea that, trading down is the most valuable thing you can do in the draft. And it goes to the idea that the NFL is really bad at scouting. They are just very, very bad at scouting, right? Very rarely, at a lot of positions, does the player who is consensus number one overall at a position, is he actually, or the first player taken at a position, very rarely is that player actually the best player at that position, right? And there's a lot of different things that go into it, right? Because scheme is such a big part. You bring a guy in and he may not, he doesn't end up fitting in the scheme that they're running, or the coaching staff changes, right? Especially with these top 5 picks who, when they were brought in, the coaching staff wanted one thing and now we want another. And so I think there is certainly value when we talk about that, about moving down in the draft. And that's why it's so valuable, because you know what, you're not going to get Jamar Chase, but especially with the way wide receiver classes are going, these are super deep draft classes. Although I do like,
would have guessed that Justin Jefferson was going to be the best wide receiver
by far
in that first round. It's just it's such a random thing, and part of it I think has to do with just how different offenses just use different guys much differently, and it's more about fit than anything. In any position group where it's more about fit than anything, I start to say maybe you want to take those shots later on in the draft rather than early on. Unless you're absolutely sure, like if you're like Calvin Johnson's there and he's a great fit for you, obviously you take Calvin Johnson, right? If you believe that Jamar Chase is that level of prospect, you take Jamar Chase, obviously. And you don't believe Panay in the same way, obviously you take that. I just did not believe Jamar Chase to be that kind of guy, so that's why I wasn't high on the pick. Yeah,
and there's always value in moving down in those spots. All right, let's go to the Ravens draft class.
It's like we ain't even talking about the Bengals. How
that was the last one.
No, I don't know what's going on here. They fascinated with the Bengals.
But going to the Ravens class, Rashad Bateman. Have I mentioned how the Steelers and Ravens are having the same offseason? Like in Baltimore, there are 2 lines of thought in Ravens fans. One, half the fan base will tell you, doesn't matter what receivers you bring into this offense, doesn't matter the quality of receiver. The problem with Lamar Jackson, the problem with this passing game is that Greg Roman and the route concepts that they run, right, couldn't scheme anybody open, right? You put Jerry Rice in this offense, he's not going to have a meaningful impact because of the routes that Greg Roman is having them run, right? That's what half the fan base would have you believe. The other half would say, no, you've got Lamar Jackson with a bunch of scrubs out there at wide receiver. Give this kid some real talent to play with, and you'll see him flourish, right? And the Ravens are very clearly going with the latter there, as they are certainly this offseason investing in weapons for Lamar Jackson. You start with Rashad Bateman. Oh, it's really sad when I turn the tape on here because, man, this is exactly the kind of wide receiver that the Steelers love. Everyone gets enamored with like all the crazy speed, and I know Bateman ran 4.4. Okay. This is one of those juiced up numbers. This kid is very clearly a 4.5 receiver, but that doesn't matter because he's so savvy as a route runner. The feet, his feet, I think, are his best attribute, especially the suddenness into his breaks, which makes him so difficult to defend. We talk about wide receiver 101. You want to make everything look the same, right? Everything should just look like a go. He really does that because his feet give nothing away. His release off the line of scrimmage, same thing. His feet are good there. His hands are good as well to beat press. Or if a guy's in off, he's just going where he needs to go. And again, once again, selling everything high. The only question for me is obviously long speed, right? I don't know if this guy's ever going to be a burner to the second level. And I guess maybe burst is maybe a bigger question. But I have a theory on Rashad Bateman. And I want to be completely honest. I only watched 2 games. I watched Penn State in 2019 and I watched Michigan in 2020. But there was a play in that Michigan game where Bateman comes off the line of scrimmage and then kind of goes to this kind of second gear. Midway through the route. And I thought to myself, and it didn't look like it didn't look like he was running that route any slower to start with than he normally does. So my wonder was, does he kind of dial it back a little bit? And that's what allows him to keep himself in control. He's not one of these receivers that has to go 100 miles an hour, right? He has to go full speed right off the line of scrimmage. He can keep himself kind of contained 90% and then has that extra juice. And maybe he can bring that out at the next level. Certainly something I didn't see in the Penn State game, although he wasn't asked to do much in that Penn State game. If I'm being honest, that secondary that day was terrible. But it's a theory.
Can I say one thing, Tony?
Yeah.
I completely hate when we put certain receivers that might not run a 4.3 or a 4.2 into a box that they're just not a good receiver, basing it straight off of, the speed that they come off of the line. I think I had TJ Husmanzada on, and he gave this analogy where he was like, if you can't decelerate, it doesn't matter how fast you are, because if someone's going to come off and jam you and stuff like that, that's not going to be one of the reasons why Bateman isn't a good receiver. And I just see that year after year. I wasn't not saying anything to what you said. I just hate that there's just this national narrative that if a guy doesn't run a 4.3 or anything, he can't get separation or he can't run routes. It's just ridiculous.
No, and you look at what the Steelers look for in wide receivers. They have very rarely looked for. I mean, last year obviously they went with Claypool, who was the size and speed guy. But you look at Antonio Brown.
Oh, they
Deontay
tried to
Johnson.
say that Claypool wasn't the speed guy last year.
I did.
I remember that. They tried to say that he wasn't fast enough. He looked pretty fast on film.
But at Notre Dame he didn't. But listen, I'm not the best scout of all time. I'll certainly admit that I was way off on Claypool a year ago. The one thing about I guess if there's one downside to Bateman, it's the drops. Now I didn't see this on tape, but PFF charted it at 19 drops, 14% drop rate. That's a concern, I guess.
Right in.
Yeah, well, it's certainly he. And when I say that the Ravens are going with what the Steelers look for in wide receivers, right? They looked at Ebron, they looked at Deontay, and they were like, "Oh, Bateman drops a bunch of balls too. We like that. We like that." All right, so
it's not going to make anybody feel self-conscious in that role.
Going over to Odafe Owe, I know. Look, there's certainly a lot of talk and jokes on this show about Owe and his 0 sacks. Obviously, I'm not going to hate this pick because I'm not the sack guy, right? I'm the pressure guy.
Pressures.
Yeah, I'm the pressure guy, right? And here's the thing for Steeler fans, right? I mean, do we believe that TJ Watt's his only contributions to the passing game are the 15 sacks he had last year? No, of course not, right? I mean, TJ Watt is a monster on far more than just 15 plays per season. And so that, when we start talking about edge rushers, look, sacks are important, but they don't tell the whole story. Owe had like 38 pressures over the last 2 years. It's not great. It's not a great number. I think Jalen Phillips had like 28 just last season. So look, this is a raw player, but let's not act like this guy has absolutely nothing going for him and he's just a size and speed guy. He can get there at times, and you have to give the Ravens credit at their ability to develop, because let's not forget, 2 years ago, we all got together and we're like, this pass rush by committee thing is silly, but they made guys like Tyus Bowser look good, right? They were able to develop talent.
That Judon,
Judon came along, right? But they're able to get these guys who aren't necessarily, Pernell McPhee, right? These guys who aren't necessarily, household names and get the job done with them. So I think their ability to develop OA will be fine. The only concern I have is the same one, Sonny. I saw your video on this, and I agree with you in that the Ravens needed a pass rusher right now, right? They're still in this window of Lamar Jackson, and this window is going to go on forever, but they're in that rookie window where before you really start paying a bunch of money to players, you want to really hit right now. And Owe is not a player that's likely to come along until they're well into paying Lamar whatever it is, $50 million a year. So I think that's a concern. Ben Cleveland, we talked about him, monster on the inside. Tylan Wallace, I'll say this: don't watch Tylan Wallace right after you watched Rashad Bateman, because everything that Bateman does well, like Tylan Wallace is just kind of average in those areas. And so you think to yourself, like, this guy's terrible, but he's not. He's just average in a lot of spots where he's great. And the trait that I think the Ravens are looking for, 50-50 balls. I mean, his ability to adjust to the football, to go up and get it, high point the ball. This is his one thing he does really, really well. I love this about Tylan Wallace, by the way. One of the only players in this whole class who I watched him on tape and said, okay, this guy's like 4.5 guy, right? And I'm sure I'll go to his mock draft and he'll have like an elite score. No, he actually tested exactly what he looks like on tape. Congratulations, Oklahoma State. You're like the only college that didn't completely juice the numbers. And then Shaun Wade, I'll just say this about Shaun Wade. I'm going to retire from the show the phrase, the Steelers got 2018 Eric Ebron. And I'm going to pass it off to Sonny, who can now say that the Ravens drafted 2019 Shaun Wade.
You put him in a good defense. He doesn't have to do much. It's not going to be asked to be Marlowe or Marcus Peters on that. That's the problem at Ohio State. They asked him to be Marcus Peters, and he was not ready.
Anything else for the Ravens?
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, let me say this for the Ravens. Look, the Ravens in this draft did some picks that were for next year, or at least for me, that's what it felt. And then there's some picks that were definitely for this year. If I start with Bateman, I mean, I don't have to say much because you guys said it all. Bateman is just a phenomenal receiver. And the other thing is, what you bring in Sammy Watkins now allows you to, not having Bateman to have the pressure, like you need to step right away, being the outside receiver and doing all these things, right? You got Sammy Watkins being there, and by week 5, Sammy Watkins probably gonna get injured, and that's when Bateman will begin. And then you have Hollywood, you have Bateman, you have Duvernay. I know you guys like to just, hit on Duvernay, but I love Duvernay. I loved him from last year. I was big on Duvernay last year in the draft, and I think where he is, he's a slot guy, right? I think Duvernay's a slot guy, and he's your wide receiver 3/4, right? So in the case of Bateman, I think Bateman brings a lot of the things. Both receivers, I'll talk about Wallace, and both receivers bring what the Ravens didn't have. The Ravens essentially what had was a lot of speed and a lot of guys that can catch when they were open, right? But if they weren't open, Hollywood Brown's not a guy that can catch in a tight window. And a window, yes, but not when it's tight coverage and somebody's all over him. That's not him. And the same thing for Boykins and the same thing for Duvernay, right? Those are not those type of receivers. So Bateman can catch. He's pretty good in the 50-50 balls. Not like Wallace. Now, Wallace basically that's all he has to do because he doesn't have the speed to separate. So he just learned to I just gonna adjust in the air and just grab the ball, which is something the Ravens don't have at all. So those two receivers complement what the Ravens did not have. Now, if I go with Odafe Owe, look, you can somewhere in the internet is my reaction to that pick. I was not in love with that pick. And it's the reason what Tony said it that I said in my video. I wanted a guy that was ready 9. And I said none of these guys are. I said 2 guys potentially, which was Phillips, I was concerned with the concussion history. And I thought Kwity Paye was good if he went to the right defense. I thought he was like
not Ojulari? You didn't like Ojulari for now?
No.
Okay.
I think Paye was good for a 4-3 defense because he reminds me a lot of the guy that we just Yannick Ngakoue. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Yannick. So, but that obviously Yannick didn't work for us. So Owe, look, the one thing I will say that I like about Owe is if you throw him there, the Ravens right now is still gonna be pass rush by committee / blitz, right? But what Owe does good, and hopefully he can translate this to the next level, is run defense. Run defense, he does good. And 2 years ago when Chubb burned us in that outside run, it was just Brad containing on the edge. Always looks good. And that, holding that edge, he looks good in the supporting on the run defense. So as a rookie, at least you still get that good run defense on the passing side. Well, again, it will be by committee. Now, Cleveland, I was surprised by the pick because I was like, guard. I mean, literally, if you go to the Ravens roster, we had like 1,000 guards. Like we just draft guards.
But are they any good?
Yeah.
So I like Ben Flowers that we had. But anyway, so the reasoning was our left guard was a center in college. So the idea is they're going to kick him to center. He was a center in Alabama, and then put Ben Cleveland as a left guard. And then essentially your O-line looks Stanley, Cleveland, Bozeman, Seidler, and Alejandro. So that's essentially your O-line. The GM said that he was not in love with none of these tackles, so he thought that Alejandro Villanueva was the best right tackle for this year. Time will tell. I will say this. It's definitely an upgrade, I think, in my opinion. Alejandro Villanueva and Phillips versus DJ Fluker and Phillips, right? That's essentially what we had last year to this year. In my opinion, that's an upgrade on the right tackle position. Now, the guy that nobody knows about is Stephens, right? That's the guy for SMU. In my opinion, what's going to happen with him is they drafted him. I said that we got a couple of draft picks there for next year. He essentially is a guy that they want to see him in the free safety position for next year. Not for this year. This year, he's a special teamer. He looked good, the little that I saw, but it's hard to evaluate SMU film.
You're talking about Stephens, the size speed guy?
Like he's a gunner? Like he's just gonna
run? He will be that this year. My point is he is a pick for next year, right? Mm-hmm. If Clark...
You said they're moving him to safety?
I think he's going to be moved.
Okay. Interesting.
That makes sense.
To safety.
They'll figure it out.
It's the same as Steelers. Steelers draft a wide receiver. You don't ask, what are they doing? You ask, what did I miss? Right. Same thing with Stephens. Right. Ravens take a corner or a safety. What did I miss?
Yeah, they like him as athleticism and all that. So, but it's really hard to just right now just pinpoint what he does well. And then Wallace, we talk about, and the other guy is Wade, right? And we talk about Shaun Wade here in this show, And the funny thing is, I think what Wade's pick is, they want to have him behind Tavon Young. Tavon Young is our slot corner, really good when he plays. The problem with him is he doesn't play much. Yeah, he doesn't play much. And
he plays the bench.
His cap hit his cap hit is getting big. So I think what they want is probably Shaun Wade to be the starter, hopefully next year, if Young can be healthy this year.
You don't think they're going to move him to safety?
No,
Wade?
I think they want him to. I think they want to see Wade in the inside. I think they want to see him in the inside. Well, to be honest, what they can do is one of those two. Between Wade and Stephens, one of them is going to take the slot, and the other one's going to take the safety position. I think that's probably what it's going to be. But both of them are a next year pick, right? They might see snaps here and there, but both of them are next. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, and again, the main thing we're worried about is Shaun Wade's confidence being restored, and it's good that he went to a team like the Ravens, where there is no Devonta Smith or somebody like that. I'm pretty sure they'll keep him away from Bateman. They'll probably have him like Duvernay or Wallace. Keep him on younger guys who aren't going to really stretch him out that long. Even like put him on Hollywood Brown a little bit in some off zone looks. I think you can definitely rebuild the confidence. If you do rebuild the confidence of Shaun Wade, there is a good player in there. Is again.
Sperry. You really got to dig it out.
Yeah, like I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like if the Bengals would have drafted, all I'm saying is like if the Bengals would have drafted him and then like had him in practice, like all right, man, we're gonna see you in the slot with Jamar Chase. It's like, that's not probably gonna work out the best for him. But like, I'm not trying to dog on the Ravens. We know the Ravens wide receiving room, like it's up and coming at best, and Shaun Wade probably needs to go up against people who aren't as seasoned. Like, he don't need to be covering.
You might want him to, because then you get what happened with the Bengals, where it's like,
no.
Defensive line.
I watched Shaun Wade all season.
Bobby Hart all the time, and you're like, oh, our pass rush is good this year. And then you get out there, and then you end up with 7.
The reality is,
he needs that confidence. Though. He needs the confidence. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you watch him last year, like, once those wide receivers started like dogging him on the outside when he got left on that island, it really affected him. Like, you could tell, like, his body language, how he was like. By the time Devontae Smith got to the second quarter, it was like a wrap. Like, he just wanted to get scraped off the field. Like, I felt bad for him at some point. Like, so for him, it's like, you don't want to give him Odell or Jarvis or somebody like that first off. Like, teams are going to definitely try to see what's up with that. Like, the Browns are definitely going to put Jarvis in the slot if he's starting in the slot and just see what he can do with that. But before you get there, I think if you build up his confidence and he trusts his instincts again, he becomes a good player. Don't let him be in space too much. Like, that's the only thing you got to do.
So I would say this: Shaun Wade is right now he's CB6 for us. So this is unless a bunch of injuries happen.
Over here bragging, Shaun Wade CB6.
He might not even make the roster. Maybe he's practice squad.
He might not even make the roster. He might be practice squad.
He's making the roster. I'm just saying he's not gonna throw to the Lions then right now.
Well, you say that, but then the Ravens went through about 1 billion corners last year. So
that is true.
Like Jimmy Smith, we already know he gonna get hurt during camp. So it was with Tavon Young and him.
Tavon Young, he's hurt right now. Tavon Young just got hurt again.
Always gets hurt.
At the dinner table.
I don't know if I've ever really seen Tavon Young play.
So let me finish with this. Heist is, a 5th-round pick, outside linebacker. I like how he moves in space for an outside linebacker. He is a Porsche Bowser, essentially, is what he is.
Isn't Bowser already poor?
It's a homeless man's Bowser.
No, the problem that I have with Hayes is, so if you think about Odafe has been playing football for 5 years. That's the total amount of he has been playing. So you expect to be raw. This dude has been a 4-year starter or been playing for 4 years in Notre Dame, plus all the time that he played football in high school and all that. You would expect him to be more positive, especially as a pass rusher. He is still things to be desired. But the Ravens sometimes, like Judon, they found in the 5th round, pass rusher McPhee way back when. So they have been finding these guys in the later part of the draft. And then we finished with the fullback. This fullback also was a pick for next year. I think they're going to let go Pat Ricard. The Ravens do use their fullback a lot.
Yeah, they do.
So they got to probably use him for next year. This kid, Mason, versus Pat Ricard. They're almost a clone. Pat Ricard is bigger. They might see if Pat Ricard, because he plays both defense and offense, they might see if Ricard gets essentially be moved to the D tackle position permanently and then use him as a fullback. But if not, I can see us letting Pat Ricard go and having Mason to be the starting fullback. But before we keep going, Tony.
I got some breaking news here. An important PSA brought to you by our friends over at manscaped.com. This is your pubic service announcement and the news you've all been waiting for. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they've successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is available right now for purchase in the USA and Canada. Brand new product from Manscaped, the Lawnmower 4.0. The trimmer was just released only moments ago, and we're one of the first to get our hands on it and share the news. You can join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free shipping with the code AFC North Talk at Manscaped.com. We're one of the first to try this. I'm blown away by the performance, the craftsmanship, the details on the 4.0. Their advanced ceramic blade and skin-safe technology is so good. It seems as if Manscaped worked with Elon Musk's engineers to ensure that your testes are as safe as possible. What makes the difference here? Well, you got the multifunction on-off switch. Then you can engage a travel lock created for people who like to travel. So you can take this on the road. You got the Lawnmower 4.0 giving you the ability to turn that 4000K LED spotlight on and off, an even better LED light. And yes, you need a light on this thing. Trust me, you'll know when you get it. The trimmer also allows you now to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-toned matte and gloss finish. Features a hot foil stamped black chrome Manscaped logo. Show that mower off loud and proud. Also, it has wireless charging. So get 20% off, free shipping with the code AFC North Talk at Manscaped.com. Again, 20% off, free shipping with the code AFC North Talk at Manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
And also, guys, you know, when it comes to that area, you want to make sure that you're using the best possible tools, the best possible brands when you use it. You know, it's like cheap liquor. You pay $10 for cheap liquor, you're going to have some cheap liquor prices. You get a little cheap little blade from Walmart, you're going to pay for that in the most delicate area of your body. So, you know,
there's only one option.
Manscaped.
Okay, so and we appreciate you guys. Manscaped has been good with how we have been performing, and we appreciate you guys supporting us through Manscaped. Appreciate it a lot.
Definitely.
Okay,
Shout
so
out to Rail Revis.
Yeah.
2 things here. Don't forget supercharges are available, and it's a way for you to get your answer, your questions, or we're gonna highlight your comments. And JT Turner 1508, shout out to you. Thank you for your donation. Where do you guys rank the AFC North QB 1 through 4 as of right now, and how much you think that list will change by the end of the next season? Look, I'll say this. I don't want to tip my hand because this is one of the episodes that's coming up. We're going to rank QB. You're going to rank wide receiver. We did this last year. And
last year. It was great. It was great. No controversy whatsoever.
There is none. So JT Turner, I'm gonna punt on that. Would it be different at the end of the year? It might, right? It all depends. I always say O-line is such a big thing for the quarterbacks. So it might change, but it's going to be fun. It's coming soon. I tell you this, they're probably going to have 3 of us will have different QB1, at least 3.
But only one of us will be right. And last year, the one that was right, right here, because I went Lamar 1, Baker 2, Joe 3, and what? Ben 4?
Ben 4, yeah, which you were wrong on Ben 4. Yeah, okay.
We not
and by the way, we're all going to
Ben
Ben 4 again. We're not going to start.
We not put a Ben 4? Oh, okay.
I mean, you might as well pencil in Ben for 4 right now.
Of course you guys are all going to put Ben 4 again. I'm in my happy place. You can't.
We'll give you guys a teaser. Ben's number 4 on the list, guys.
Shocker. Shocker. Remember, last year we were talking about cutting Ben Roethlisberger on that show was half of it. No, you know what?
Tony might want to watch that season.
And Tony forgot that, like,
would Bengals fans not take a 12-4 season? You're going to act like that was a failure? Would Bengals fans not take a 12-4 season?
Wait. I love how he played on that Monday night game.
You're not getting me on this one. No, this is bait, and I'm not taking it.
Look, all I'm saying is that I remember when Start Mason Rudolph was trending on Twitter. Like I remember we were like, I remember when I was like, Tony, are they really gonna bench him? And you were like, ew, it looks like he.
I mean, there were times.
I want to take that Lawnmower 4.0 and cut him off the roster.
I'm just saying.
I'm not taking this bait.
At no point were any of the other AFC North quarterbacks backups trending. Hey, Tony, Sonny, was there anybody ever saying like, "Hey, we should put RG3 in over Lamar"? Oh no. We saw Tyree. We saw Tyree number 2 come in, and he was number 2, all right.
We will certainly have a full hour and a half to discuss this. I can't wait. It's the exact same discussion all over again. I wonder if Ben's going to be any good. No, he's not going to be 12 more later.
Was anybody calling for Ryan Griffin off the bench? Finley was Ryan
Finley beat Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, well, Ryan Finley did actually.
My bad, guys.
Do well.
Ben 5. Ryan Finley
technically
4 honorably for last year.
Technically, Ryan Finley was better than Joe Burrow. If we're going by 1 game sample sizes, technically Ryan Finley was better than Joe Burrow.
Ryan Finley with a 4.7 40, boy, he was lighting up.
Might have been a 5 flat, but it didn't matter. I mean, that game was unbelievable.
He looked like Anthony Schwartz out there versus the Steelers.
I mean, that. Why do we got to bring up that play? Why do we got
to? Look, we definitely gonna.
Ryan Finley is gonna have a whole career in the NFL based off that one game.
On the one play.
The Steelers
you gotta get paid. You gotta get paid.
A whole career.
The Steelers.
Ben got that noodle arm now. It's over.
Not a noodle arm. It's not a noodle arm. We'll have a whole hour and a half to discuss this. It'll be great. It's gonna be. I'm looking very much forward to it.
Shout out to Play on the Review. Where are the super chats? Come on, cuff it up.
We got him.
Hey, we
want to know how you feel about these draft classes. So Ravens and Steelers fans, let us know.
Yes. So right now, for Ravens fan or any fan, just give it a grade. I'll actually, for everybody's grade, I actually agree with Q. I give the Ravens a B. I think they might. I mean, if Odafe Owe booms, then obviously that was an A. But I mean, for me right now, that pick, like, it's a pick for me. That was just like a C+ pick because I wanted something that it was more rounded, ready to start. Anyway, let's go Steelers here. Ace, what do you thought about the Steelers? That I thought it was kind of a weird draft pick, but what do you think?
It was a mixed bag. I think for me, I really love the Najee Harris pick for them. Even the Pat Freiermuth pick. The only head scratcher there is with the Steelers losing so much on their offensive line. You know, they're losing their center to retirement. They cut Villanueva. You know, the line wasn't that good last year. So I kind of felt like they were in a similar situation, not exactly, but similar to Cincinnati, because I felt like they were going to pick some linemen up in this draft. And I like Kendrick Green, but if I'm not mistaken, he's more of a guard. So that was the only.
He's going to play center for the Steelers.
He's going to play center?
He'll play center.
Okay, so he's going to come in and play center, but I feel like there were a lot of holes left on their line. Obviously, we still have to see what's going on there. But the most picks that I like, I love the Najee Harris pick for them, running back, the best one in the draft. Something that's going to instill some fear into me when we go against them, because for me, even though they had Connor and all of that, he was never Le'Veon Bell to me. Le'Veon Bell was a guy that terrorized the Bengals. You never knew if he was going to go off for 100 or 200 yards against the Bengals. He would literally dribble Drake Kirkpatrick like a basketball anytime he would come across him. And when they lost that element, all we had to focus on was the passing game. So the Steelers became one-dimensional from being this team that could just kill you both ways in the run game and in the pass game. I mean, they could even line up Le'Veon Bell at receiver. And so I'm not sure if you're going to use Najee Harris that same way, but he's still going to be a threat in that backfield to take it the distance every time. And they've really struggled with that run game last year. That was one of their weaknesses. So that was something that they much improved on. And then the tight end as well, I like him. Obviously, I don't feel like and I don't think anyone is Kyle Pitts, but this wasn't a bad guy for them to take in the second round. I kind of get it, but at the same time, I'm kind of scratching my head there, thinking that they would have taken a Tevin Jenkins or any kind of offensive tackle there. Yeah. And then when you get into the end of this draft, I really didn't like much of it outside of Quincy Roche. Like, Roche was, I think, the best value, and that was the one that I looked up and was like, oh, wow, that's great. But Loudermilk, head scratcher, Norwood, I'm not so sure about that one. Buddy Johnson, I just thought that at this point they would be taking some linemen there or some tackles there, especially when you got a guy like Trey Smith. Well, there may be health concerns, but the Chiefs still had no problem picking them up. So that was the only thing for me. I think when they started with Najee Harris, I thought that they were going somewhere. But, the lack of tackles, the issues with the offensive line kind of had left me kind of scratching my head. So I'm going to give them a C+ for this draft because I really love the Najee Harris pick. I think if they would have squeezed the tackle in there anywhere, it's easily a B to even an A draft. And I'm a Bengals fan saying that for them. But
they got one in the fourth round, but obviously not a high pick. Yeah.
Oh, you said you did get a tackle.
They got a tackle in the fourth round. Yeah, Dan Moore out of Texas A&M.
Sorry, I thought that said
not a huge. I mean, not a high pick though.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure who that guy is, and I had to to study a lot of tackles in this draft, but I just thought that they would have gone for one earlier. But it's not a bad draft. It could be one that I'm saying that's a C+ now, and then you hit on 2 or 3 picks, which is what everybody wants. We try to grade the entire draft where there's like 8 guys, but literally if you get 3 good guys out of one draft, that's generally a good draft.
Yeah,
so not a bad draft for them, but just I would have liked to have seen more concern on the offensive line from them earlier, I guess, at least with where they were picking.
Cute.
By the way, shout out to the Raven fans. Like, oh my God, I can't believe the Browns drafted a small linebacker in the 2nd round. You drafted Patrick Queen last year. They're the same size. They are the same size. 6 foot, 225 coming out of college. He'll add 10 pounds in the NFL. All right. So anyway,
that's the new size of linebacker anyway. I mean, Devin Bush, the same thing. Everybody's that size now.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to stop a running back because they're too small, dog. Patrick Queen is literally on your team. But anyways, let's talk about the Steelers. Ooh, this is gonna be interesting, man. This is gonna be interesting. Now, last year, I remember begging the Steelers, draft J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins makes sense. J.K. Dobbins will give you that playmaker running back that you need. And it looks like this year they're trying to make up for not taking J.K., even though they did fine in the 1st round last year, I believe, right? They get
Claypool they got last year in 2nd round.
First round. Didn't have a 1st round pick.
Well, they got Minka, which is a decent trade.
Okay, yeah, they got Minka.
Decent. I guess that's decent.
Yeah, that's a decent makeup. But even though it don't look like the Dolphins miss them that much. But
were the Dolphins 12-4? I'm not. Nope. This bait again. Not gonna do it.
The franchise that only cheers about Super Bowl rings is now like, hey man, the regular season counts too.
We're rewriting history as though the Steelers were 6-10, which I know they're 6-10 in your hearts, but they were 12-4 in
the most overrated 11-0 team of all time.
Well, that might be true, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Let's instead of piling on their season for I'm gonna pile on their draft. All right. So Najee Harris. I'm gonna be honest with you. Do I like Najee Harris a lot? Like I don't love him, but of all the running backs that you could have gotten in this draft, I felt like that's the best bet. Like I don't like ETN that much. I don't think ETN really had to do much at Clemson. I mean, like he had to do a lot as far as like the roles he was asked to do. Yeah. I just don't think it was a ton of work there against like ACC competition. He was just running through wide open holes a lot of times. So Najee's no different. And I do have questions about, because Najee Harris, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but Najee Harris was a huge deal in high school. This is somebody who, like, Bleacher Report was streaming their high school games. Like, people were putting his games on ESPN. He was supposed to be amazing coming out of high school, and he wasn't that at Alabama when he first got there. It took him a while, and then this 3rd year, he did get there. Now, to the point to where he was living up to the hype of Najee Harris. Now, he was still, like, a good running back. But I just don't love the running back, but I have questions about the pick because, again, it's like usually the Steelers would be about building the offensive line and building the run game through the offensive line because they feel like the offensive line is a little bit more robust of a position to build out and that you can have more players benefit from a good offensive line than you can just having a good running back. That being said, is Najee Harris the type of guy who's going to be able to be really good without a running back? I don't know. Who was the guy that the Chargers drafted that was really good without a good line out of Florida State?
Akers?
Yeah, Cam Akers.
The Rams, not Chargers. Rams.
Yeah.
I feel like the Steelers probably had they probably had JK on the board. They probably had Cam Akers there. And they wanted to take one of those guys last year, but, they took Claypool. And they don't regret Claypool, but they are trying to chase that running back dragon with Najee Harris. And, we'll see about Najee Harris. If he's a great running back, he's a great running back. I just don't know if that's going to be better than getting a good right tackle or somebody like that. That's the big question with that pick. I'm not against running backs in the 1st round. Obviously, if you draft the right guy, if you drafted Nick Chubb in the 1st round instead of Sony Michel, that's a great pick, right? But, is Najee Harris going to become a top 5 running back? That's the question. Is he going to be somebody who can get a ton of production without a great offensive line in front of him? Again, those are the questions that you have to ask. Then they got Pratt Freiermuth in the 2nd round. That's a terrible pick. You know what I mean? I don't think I need to elaborate on why that's not a good pick. It's just not a great pick. When the 2nd round started, regardless of if the Steelers did it or not, I remember saying in my live stream, there are no second-round tight ends really in this draft. Drafting a tight end in the second round would be a mistake, and the Steelers did it. I got to stand by that. I think that's a terrible pick. Like, I'm not a big fan. And, you know, I know the Steelers used to have great tight ends. They have not been great at developing and drafting that position of recently. So can't really even give them the benefit of the doubt there with Pride Fireman, but maybe I can be surprised. Kendrick Green, their offensive line, and I think they'll figure it out with him. I don't know if I like him or not, but I trust the Steelers to be able. They developed some guys before, right? They developed some guys before. It's just sometimes they don't. I don't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with the 2 mid-round tackles there. I don't know if they become starters, but maybe one of them becomes starters, and that's a win, right? If you get one of them. Buddy Johnson, hey, that's probably a guy we're never going to hear of again. Isaiah Loudermilk, don't like that pick at all. Quincy Roach in the 6th round. I know, Ace, you like that pick. Look, Quincy Roach in the 6th round, it's not like it's a bad value pick. I just don't think Quincy Roach is good. Regardless, yeah, I don't.
I agree with you, but it's a 6th round, so whatever.
Yeah, I think he'll be off your team in like 2-3 years.
Great.
It's
like my favorite pick of the draft, but anyways, keep going.
That's sad. I'm just messing with you. By the way, people stop spelling Quincy with the E. There's no E in Quincy. It's not Quincy. It's Quincy. It's not 15 in Spanish. It's Quincy. Quin. I know a ton of people whose name's Quincy. Never seen one with the name spelled with E, but I get this spelling all the time on Quincy Roach, on Quincy Carrier. No E. Never put an E there. It's one of my pet peeves. If you ask a question on Q&A and I see it has an E, I don't answer it because my name's not that hard to spell. It's 6 words. It's 6 letters. You know, spell it right. Now that I rant over Trey Norwood, these are 7-round picks. They got Percy Harvin in the 7th round out of Georgia Tech. No, Presley Harvin. Yeah.
Since 260, 6 foot 260.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
They got a fat punter.
Like a
and honestly, wait, guys. Honestly, makes a ton of sense. The Steelers after this draft would invest in a punter.
This is the best joke. I'm surprised no one else is making this joke. This is the best line.
Farting out chicken nuggets.
The fact that you're the first person I've heard make this joke, which is the most obvious joke I thought of when as soon as I saw the Steelers draft the punter, it's like, okay, the joke here is that teams who draft the running back in the 1st round should also draft the punter because they have no value. And I have not heard anyone other than you. So props to you for actually making that joke. Because obviously, as a Steeler fan, I can't make it. But
They looked at their whole situation, was like, yeah, we should probably get a good punter. We should get the biggest punter because we expect to be backed up on our own 20 a lot, and we're gonna play field position with the defense, baby. They are playing old school Steeler ball down there in Pittsburgh, except for they don't have an offensive line. So it's gonna be interesting how they work that out. Maybe Chooks is gonna be good this year, but with a name like that, I don't know about that, right? Because you imagine Chooks, of course. Yo, we got to watch out for Chooks on the offensive line. That boy's a monster.
What's wrong with Chooks? Oh, he's bad. He's not. He was not good.
You got to watch for Chooks when he pull out on the right side. No, I don't think that's happening. But yeah, the Steelers draft. It's not a great draft. It could be like, look, Najee Harris could be so good in such a transformational running back that this could go from a C- to a B. But I'm gonna probably give this one a C- because I don't love it, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they probably found 3 starters in this draft somewhere, right? So I'm not going to give it a D because a D is like you might have got 1 starter out the entire draft.
Okay.
Way higher than I thought you guys were going to be. This is shocked.
By the way,
I'm ready to come straight Fs on this one. They took a running back in round 1, guys. I don't know if you guys remember. They took a running back and they passed on offensive line in the 2nd round.
It's not like they did the Dave Gettleman.
As soon as they took the running back in round 1, even though it's a great running back, he's like, oh no.
Well, he said it, right? He said we all knew
he's got his rules. He
said to get rid of Le'Veon.
So here's for the Ravens, the grade was a B. For the Steelers, also for you guys, the grade is a B. Remember, guys, follow us on Twitter for some polls.
Can you bring that up? Can I point something out? Because I do think this is interesting how this happened. And I noticed this when I did a poll. I go on Locked On Steelers a lot, and I did a poll for whether or not the Steelers should take a running back in round 1 or 2. I'm big on round 2 guy. When I ran the Twitter on my Twitter followers on They all said round 2. When I did it on the guy in Locked On Steelers who's big on taking Najee, they all said round 1. And very similar here, right? Where if you go through, Sonny, you didn't like Owe, right? And so the Ravens kind of docked this from what should have been an A class to a B class, right? You go through the Steelers, right? I'm not a running back in the first round guy. This is, very few A's here, more B or even C, right? For the value there. You go to the Bengals, and Ace was very much on team Sewell, right?
Yeah.
And so that draft went to a B for those fans. And then with Quincy, who was, obviously everyone's going to give that class an A, but like it's very funny how our personalities kind of went into the fan base, right? Like our the fans of the team kind of went exactly with kind of where we are with the team. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, my goal is to make running wide receiver the new running back position. And
good luck.
By the end of my time here on YouTube. For real though, for real.
No, wide receivers matter. Running backs, you can really legitimately make an argument they don't matter.
Wait. No.
Trade Jarvis Landry, just get
I'm not saying good wide receivers
don't
matter. I'm not saying good I'm saying drafting wide receivers early, like in the top 5, it usually isn't a great idea. Also, if we gonna talk about the passing game, a wide receiver can really be like at best like 1 of 3 options on the field at a time. Like at least with the running back, if you will run the ball a ton, the ball is going to Najee Harris. Like the ball is going to Najee Harris. So at least you're gonna make sure you can utilize him. The ball might not even be going to Jamar Chase or whatever team that gets it.
Jamar Chase. Come on.
Yeah, but like running backs are like that.
Too silly now. We know that it's going to Jamar Chase.
Huh?
Would you rather take Anthony Schwartz or Jamar Chase?
Obviously, you would take Jamar Chase over Anthony Schwartz, who went and picked 91. What are you talking about? Yes, obviously, that's the
I don't know
case
about that,
there.
actually.
But, would I be surprised if somebody from the 3rd round ended up being the best wide receiver in this draft? I would not, because that happens a lot in the NFL. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
That's good. Now, if Jamar Chase is a bust, then yeah. But if Jamar Chase, like let's say the guy is the 3rd rounder is the best receiver.
What if he's the 4th best receiver in the class? Like he's good, but he's like the 4th best receiver.
It just depends, because when you look at the class that was like Mike Evans and all of those guys, it wouldn't be bad being the 5th best wide receiver from that class, because it was stacked. They were all good. Now, if he's not a Pro Bowler or something like that, then yeah, I think you're like, wow, we should have drafted Pt2 Sewell instead. And if Pt2 is a Pro Bowler, then yes. But I think he's.
But who's to say Pt2 is going to be the best left tackle in this class too, right?
It's hard to say that.
It could be Eichenberg, right? I mean, that I think is the bigger thing, is you can never know who the best guy is going to be.
Could be Slater, yeah.
Could be Slater, yeah.
Shaw.
No, Darius Sloth is. I'm gonna take that to the grave. I'm just gonna be wrong on that one. I call him Darius Sloth. I was not a fan.
Okay, like so a couple of things here, guys. I did put a poll here before we keep going. If you want to hear the audio version, go again AFC North Talk on Twitter. Follow us and vote in our poll. So let me talk about the Steelers here real quick, because I agree with a lot of the points the guys are having. Harris, I thought best running back. Yeah, I mean I know Tony, you were big on Etienne.
No, it's Javonte Williams. I was not big on Javonte Williams.
In the case with Harris, he can catch, he can run between the tackles, he can run the outside, and he's a pretty complete back, right? We're talking about Najee Harris, a complete back. So my problem is, O-line. Like one of the things is we kill the Bengals in this podcast about O-line, and
for the Steelers to get some, come get it.
We have given the benefit of the doubt to the Steelers, and the reality is the Steelers O-line has gone down since
Munchak.
Yes, they went to the Broncos.
I called that. I said it's not going to be good.
As soon as he went to the Broncos,
offensive line whisperer.
That O-line has digressed, and the reality is, I don't know if I trust the Steelers to develop since he left. Have they been able to develop any O-line since he left? So over there, they took Harris. I thought O-line, look, they could have taken Jenkins, right? Or if they wanted the center, Landon was there, right? Landon got picked early in the 2nd. So they could have taken Dickerson and then go to the tackle. But even when they went back and took Pat Fairmouth, which I disagree here with Q. I like Fairmouth a lot. But Creed Humphrey was there, and I thought Creed Humphrey was a really good center there for the Steelers. Again, it looked to me, so like you can argue the Ravens could pick a right tackle, but the Ravens had that whole right tackle, and the rest of the O-line, when they drafted Cleveland, it looked pretty much set with Stanley coming back. Boseman was there. They had Seiler, right? So they had already pieces. I feel like the Steelers had a lot of unknowns throughout this O-line, and they really didn't attack, right? Like, again, a running back is nice. Harris is nice. This is not me killing Harris. Fairmouth, again, I like Fairmouth as a tight end, but those two, they could be inconsequential with a bad O-line. But a bad O-line, Harris, Najee Harris might not even have any holes. He might be getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Think about Zeke Elliott when he had a great O-line, and when the O-line got injured. I mean, and Zeke is a great running back. How the drop was with him, right? And even Saquon Barkley. How many times you seen Saquon just being tackled in the backfield because that O-line gets no push? They cannot open any holes for him. So the O-line, and again, it's funny because we had killed the Bengals with O-line and we had given a pass to Steelers.
For Chooks. Apparently Chooks is the second coming of Willie Anderson or something.
Moving to the left side too. Not good on the right side and moving to the left.
Hey,
it is the one move on the. I mean, I will defend the Steelers' offensive line, but the Chooks to the left side thing is the real head catch.
What is the only good constant?
They got Chewbacca, David Banner.
The Castro, Castro is the glue right now.
Method says, "Ayo, Ben, we want you to retire more than we're going to start Chooks a call for on the left side."
They could have just cut him. I mean, they had that option. They made him take a pay cut. And we made him we're making him take a pay cut, and we're moving Chooks to the left side. So.
Like, hey, we're gonna make you take a pay cut, man, and your life expectancy might actually drastically dip this season.
And I would say this, and after that, the draft
Chooks is the one question mark.
A lot of meh. Yeah. I will say this: I'm not in love. It's not that I love Quincy Roche, but in the 6th round, I mean that's a good pick there. At that point, because Quincy Roche can boom. It's a long shot, but aren't all 6th rounders a long shot? So at 6th round, you can see some traits that he can develop, right? And right now he's going to be what, 3 or outside linebacker 4?
3. So outside linebacker 3. No. 3. I can't see another. If I have to watch Cassius Marsh play another down of football for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'll find a new hobby. I will be Steeler country will become Formula One country. Like I'm out if I ever have to watch Cassius Marsh play another down.
Roche should have a redshirt year.
What happened to Skipper? Where's Skipper at?
He's on the Giants now. He's on the Giants.
Don't talk about Skipper. That is like a broken heart for Tony.
It is.
No. I literally saw Skipper Tuzard playing somewhere else, and I literally texted Tony. I was like, "What? You guys don't have to skip anymore?"
No, they let him go. Could you imagine the number 1 sack leader in the preseason last year didn't even make the roster? Unbelievable.
It's a C-.
We talk about the NFLPA says that the preseason last year, the lack of it didn't hurt anybody. It hurt Skipper.
That's right. I didn't look into
team, maybe.
It just proves it, right? I mean, he led in sacks, but how many pressures did he really have? That's
by the way.
That's the real question. Did he lead the preseason in pressures? Probably not, and that's why they had to let him go.
By the way, did Ola Adihi, is he still on the roster?
No, he's on the Titans. He went with Bud. Him and Bud were a package deal. Yeah, they were a package deal.
I love the Steelers and their infatuation with these dudes. End up never playing.
Everyone's got their training camp darlings. Don't act like the Bengals fan base or the Browns fan base don't have training camp darlings.
No, because the Browns and Bengals have been bad enough to a certain point. So we just assume these dudes are sorry in real life.
All right, well, I'm not there yet.
So Tony, what do you think about the Steelers draft?
Oh, well, I have the fun time of defending. You know, I'm Mr. Don't take a running back. I don't know if you guys remember this. Last year, I gave the Ravens not a B, not a C. I gave the Ravens a D for taking J.K. Dobbins in the 2nd round. So today, I have the enviable task of defending my Steelers taking a running back in round number 1. But, you know, if you've already watched my video on Steeler Country, I did 45 minutes on this. So I'll try to keep it a little shorter here today. But basically, my thesis here with taking a running back in round number 1 and why I'm fine with it, even though I agree with all it takes about the value here, is that why do we care about the opportunity cost of a football team, right, in taking a running back in round number 1 when, you know, and what that's going to do and how that's going to set back the franchise 3 years from now when the moment Ben Roethlisberger retires, this thing, you know, is in rebuild mode. So, yeah, I mean, you know, would the marginal benefit of taking Tevin Jenkins over Najee Harris is fine, you know, but long term, I just think the Steelers have far more problems. The Steelers need to fix the running game right now. right now. This is not, they're on a get rich quick scheme. This is not the idea of like, build long-term value or whatever. No. The Steelers were 32nd in running the football last year, and they can't afford to like, let's bring in Tevin Jenkins and, we'll start rebuilding with our right tackle and then we'll bring in a center. And, this is a 3-year project. 3 years from now, it's the Mason Rudolph, they'll rebuild the running game just in time for Mason Rudolph to take over. And no, thank you, right? You got to fix this thing right now. You talk about Najee Harris, Quincy, I don't know what you're getting at with the it took Najee a while to get going. His sophomore year, he was the third running back on that Bama team. That was a Bama team with Josh Jacobs, who ended up being a first-round pick that year, and Damian Harris, who was a third-round pick. And Najee went for 800 yards a year, averaged 6.7 yards per carry, which was the best of anyone on the team. I think, for him, the problem was he just didn't get on the field because, look, when he came in, it was those two guys plus Bo Scarborough. Then Bo Scarborough leaves, so he gets bumped up to running back 3. He put up more rushing yards. Yeah, he put up more rushing yards that year than even Josh Jacobs did. And Josh Jacobs was the 28th pick, I think, in that class. So Najee's been productive. Najee Harris, by the way, is the all-time leading rusher in Alabama history. I think, when you talk about the traits of Najee, right, polished, he's as polished a runner as you'll see coming out. Vision, lateral quickness to make people miss in space, but he also has that power through his cuts, the contact balance you want. And then you add to that his receiving ability. Pat Freiermuth is a player that I don't like. I was not happy with this selection. I like the pick, though. I don't like the player. I like the pick, and I'll explain that later. But what the Steelers are getting here is a two-way tight end, someone who can be as good a blocker as he is a receiver. The big question I have with him, athleticism. When I watch him on tape, and this is a guy who reportedly in high school ran 4.9, and now he's probably faster since then. But how much faster, right? I mean, at best, what are we talking about? A 4.7s type guy. I just think in the modern NFL, when you look at the type of linebackers that are being added, that's a concern for me. Kendrick Green, I like, undersized, but doesn't play that way. Explosive off the line of scrimmage, the physicality that new offensive line coach Adrian Clem is preaching about. Kendrick Green has that, but he's also got the athleticism to get to the second level, to get him out in space. Multi-year starter there. So, the Steelers know, I've seen him against a high level of competition in the Big Ten, played in a very zone-heavy scheme. Dan Moore at tackle. The guy they got from Texas A&M, another multi-year starter, really good athletic traits, played in the SEC for multi-year starter in the SEC, finalist for the best offensive lineman in the country, another physical guy, and again, played in a zone-heavy scheme. Now, you guys talk about they should have addressed offensive line early, and why did they take a tight end? That was my thing as well. On draft night, I had the exact same reaction, which is, what is happening? How does this team feel comfortable, right? Even though they are changing out all the players on the offensive line, how do you not want to add more talent there, especially in an offensive line heavy draft in the second round? And how in the world are you taking a luxury pick like tight end, right? The long-term replacement for Eric Ebron. How are you taking that player in round number 2? Right?
The long-term replacement for Ebron? I thought Ebron was gone after this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Long-term, right? This year you have Ebron. Next year, Freiermuth takes over. But I think that's not the case.
It was like that Ebron was kind of like a Band-Aid solution.
Well, he is, yeah. But the long-term guy at tight end.
At tight end,
yeah. But here's the thing. Mike Tomlin tried to tell us this was going to happen on the Monday before the draft. He was asked specifically about fixing the running game and what kind of players the Steelers were going to look to add in this class, right? Outside of just everyone we knew they were going to take Najee. Here's what Mike Tomlin had to say about that. He said, quote, improvements to the running game go beyond the acquisition of additional players, schematics, formations. The things that we do to give ourselves a strategic advantage need to be improved. And that, to me, is the real story of this class. Because when you look at those first 4 picks and you think about what Matt Canada wants to do, right? My boy Matt Canada here, wearing the Canada hat to support him. I cannot tell you guys how excited I am about Matt Canada coming in. Okay, because he is coming in, and you look at these first 4 picks, there's no doubt in my mind. Matt Canada's coming in to change schematically, specifically the running game, but in all likelihood, that will have reverberations into the passing game as well. First of all, the Steelers are a primarily gap or power type scheme, right? Now, the Steelers just drafted 2 offensive linemen who were multi-year starters in zone-heavy schemes. Are they going to just bring those guys in to start right away and teach them run more man or gap schemes? I think that's unlikely. I think what's more likely is the Steelers are going to move to more zone or outside zone type, especially with a Najee Harris who has the vision where on outside zone, right, there's not really a hole you're running to. You're just kind of finding your way. And if there's a cut back lane, certainly Najee Harris has the ability to find it and hit that hole with power. That's what's exciting to me. The idea that Matt Canada's coming in to run outside zone, the 12 personnel, take a tight end around number 2. Why? because 12 personnel is such a big part of what Matt Canada wants to do. You look at what he did at Pitt, right, in his time in college when he wanted to be very multiple on the same play. Out of 12 personnel now, the Steelers have Ebron and Freiermuth, who they can come out and they can line these guys up both in line, your traditional 12 set, right? Or you can line both guys up out wide, what is essentially 4 wide. You could line up Freiermuth in the backfield. You could run it at basically 21, right? The Steelers have the ability to run all these different looks out of 12 now, whereas last year the Steelers were the most stagnant and the most predictable offense in the league. Here's some numbers for you about Randy Fichtner and the crap offense that the Steelers had at the end of last season, okay? They were the most predictable team in the league. Out of 11 personnel, meaning 3 wide receiver sets, the Steelers threw the ball 70% of the time out of 11. Out of anything other than 11, meaning two tight ends or 2 running backs, 21, 12, 22, the Steelers ran the ball 70% of the time, which means that as a defensive coordinator, as the season went on, all you had to do is look at the personnel that's out there on the field, and you could be 70% sure of what the Steelers were going to do on a play-to-play basis. And you add to that the fact that the Steelers ran almost no play action, 12% play action, which means that 9 out of 10 times, if Ben Roethlisberger is going to hand the ball off, he is handing the ball. There's no play action happening here. It's no wonder that this team went from scoring 30 points a game in weeks 1 through 10 to scoring just 19 points a game down the stretch. Now, yes, Ben Roethlisberger didn't play well down that, but the Steelers had the worst running game, okay, and they had the most predictable offense. Matt Canada is coming in to fix those things. He's going to fix them in a couple ways. I think the zone blocking and the outside zone, when you look at Najee Harris, the traits that he brings and the traits that the Steelers are bringing in on the offensive line, this is finally going to be a modern offense. Steeler fans, I want you to close your eyes for a second and imagine the Steelers running 12 personnel, going outside zone with Najee, and what if they ran a play fake out of outside zone and you're leaking Deontay to the other side, right? To the back side of the play, or you're leaking Ebron down there, or you got Chase Claypool running down the field. If a safety comes down, you got him in one-on-one. These are the kind of things that we would never see in a Randy Fichtner offense. And these are the things that Matt Canada is actually going to bring in. We're actually, Steeler fans, going to watch a modern offense in Pittsburgh. I can't wait to watch it. It's what excites me about this class. Even a class that, yes, includes a running back in round number 1. I am hyped to see what Matt Canada is going to do, because I think this idea that Ben runs the offense, Randy Fichtner's, Matt Canada's just coming into what Fichtner did. No. These 4 picks mean Matt Canada's coming in to set his tone into the offense. And as a Steeler fan, it's such a breath of fresh air.
Man, y'all talk about Matt Canada like he's Kyle Shanahan coming in there.
Well, listen, just take Kyle Shanahan's playbook and run it. I mean, my God, it's whatever. Listen, there's a reason. Did you know that in Pittsburgh we don't celebrate Independence Day on July 4th anymore? We actually celebrate it on January 14th, because that's the day we were liberated from the crap offense that we had to watch for the last 3 years in Randy Fichtner. Okay, I mean, I cannot tell you how frustrating it was to sit on your couch and just be able to look at a formation and tell you if it's going to be run or pass. And of course, defensive coordinators knew it as well. So I'm telling you, I'm smiling ear to ear today because of my boy Matt Canada.
That has to change, that's definitely true. Big Ben doing a play action boot, throwing it to Deontay Johnson, leaking on the other side. I closed my eyes and envisioned that. I either saw a drop or a strip sack. Okay,
all right, let's say it's Juju. All right, let's say it's Juju. Yeah, I shouldn't. Deontay's a bad dude. Deontay, listen, if Deontay catches the ball this year, you guys are in trouble. Y'all are in trouble.
If he catches the ball. If Eric Ebron,
if he can catch the end around that they got handed off to him.
If the Steelers go back to 2018 and bring that team back to 2021, we're in trouble.
Yeah, including the O-line. Okay, so let's.
Well, the offensive line. I do want to address the offensive line real quick, because they are changing. I mean, PFF had this really dumb saying of like taking a running back in round 1 is like painting over mold in your house. Right? You didn't address the problem. Okay, the Steelers aren't bringing back the 5 offensive linemen from last year. In fact, 4 of the 5 players, 4 of the 5 positions will be different. Right, so it's not necessarily that they're a bad offensive line. It's just a question mark. Right, they're changing the offensive line. They're changing the offensive line coach, and they're changing the offensive scheme. Right, so could it be bad again? Of course it could be. Right, but I think they are changing enough out here that it's going to be at least different, and that's at least a start.
Same thing with like the offensive coordinator. At least they changed it so it could be different.
Thank God. And he's actually, and it's not just that he's coming in to run a similar thing to Fichtner, right? I mean, this guy's coming in to legitimately. I mean, outside zone is something the Steelers, they've run it, but they don't run it like
So not 32, 31. That's going to be an upgrade.
Hey, listen, and the upgrade on if the running game goes from 32nd to 20th, I mean, look, I don't think people realize how bad the Steelers were. Teams that are 32nd in the league in rushing. teams that are the bottom of the league in rushing and yards per carry. Over the last 10 years, those teams are on average 6-10. 6-10. The Steelers were 12-4. Right, so improving that running game even a little bit, considering what they had around it, right? What they were able to do last year, what they were able to accomplish last year. If they improved that running game even a little bit, I think it helps. But remember, the Steelers could not convert in short yardage. They had to punt against the Browns late in that game because they didn't even want to try. Didn't even want to try to get 1 yard because it was a coin flip. They were 51%. 51% conversion rate on 3rd and 4th with just 1 or 2 yards to go.
Yeah, they got a lot, you know.
It's insane.
I get where you're coming from, Tony. You know,
it's insane. Yeah.
So let's go here to some super chats that we have, guys. Give the grade to the Steelers. Give the grade to the Steelers draft. Soul Train says, "What is the biggest weakness of all 4 AFC North teams?" I'll start with me. With the Ravens, it's still edge. Edge is the biggest weakness right now. Ace, what do you think is the biggest weakness for the Bengals?
I mean, it's always offensive line. We have to see how this plays out. Obviously, they tried to get some pieces there, but offensive and defensive line, until we see how these guys play, all we can go off of is last year. I think they improved, but if you're talking and comparing wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, and all of that, offensive and defensive line are still issues.
Q.
It's edge depth. Yeah, Miles, Clowney, that's cool. Clowney's injury prone. We know about him. Tack's coming off an injury last year. So, you know, if Clowney goes down, then you're talking about Tack and Miles, which I know some people like, you know, but it does take away a lot of the versatility you can do with the front seven. And God forbid if Myles Garrett goes down and Clowney goes down, and you got Porter Gustin and nobody else really out there. So edge depth is going to be difficult. But it's difficult for almost every other team in the league out there to get good edge depth.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer here for the Steelers would be offensive line. But I think for me on the offensive line, you know, the question mark really is left tackle, and that's on Chooks. Otherwise, the other spots I'm more comfortable with. You know, Zach Banner went out on the right side a year ago. He just suffered the ACL. DeCastro is going to come back as right guard. Dotson, I thought, was good at left guard last year when he played, so I'm excited to see him start. I'm not going to say offensive line. I'll say corner. I think corners for me is a bigger question mark because that's something the Steelers did not address at all in this draft. You know, Trey Norwood, who they drafted, is more of a safety. They're going to move him to safety. So the Steelers are going to go into next season with Joe Hayden and Cam Sutton as your 2 starting corners. In the slot, it's going to be an open competition. I think, you know, what may end up happening here is James Pierre wins out and Cam Sutton goes inside on passing downs. And I think that may happen. But right now, I mean, you know, the Steelers they have a big question mark at corner.
Okay. Quincy, with as much talent as the Browns have, I will expect nothing less than them making it to at least the last round of the playoffs. If they don't, Browns are trash. Who are they?
Keep that one on the screen for a little bit. So Derek, appreciate the $10 super chat. I appreciate your support for your team. But I saw this one, and I've been waiting for this one to pop up on the screen for a long time. One, I don't know what kind of an insult it is that you think the Browns should be a Super Bowl team. But yeah, I agree with you. The Browns should probably make it to the Super Bowl. That's great. I know what team's not making the Super Bowl this year. The Cincinnati Bengals. Not this year, not next year, probably not the year after that either. Also, when we talk about advancing in the playoffs, it's a pretty bold thing for a Bengal fan to say, because if I'm not wrong, it's been since 1991. I was born, the Browns were taken away, brought back, and still won a playoff game more recently and have won one this year before the Bengals, baby. It's people who are about to be 30 who ain't seen the Bengals win.
What happened when the Browns win? The Browns been trash for a whole decade. As soon as they get a playoff win, this is what they do.
Yeah,
like we wasn't sweeping them for a whole decade.
The Steelers spotted 28 points and they're acting like we killed them. The Steelers spotted them 28 and they're acting like they defeated the 85 Bears in the first round of the playoffs.
No, I will not hear any of this. Oh, we've been sweeping them nonsense from the Bengals. I'll take it from the Ravens and the Steelers, the 2 teams who actually been consistently sweeping the Browns.
When was the last time the Battle of Ohio was good outside of the last 2
I don't know. it ain't really been good the last 2 years. It's been what,
It wasn't a
5-1?
battle. It was a
It's been
massacre for the
5-1.
last decade.
It was good. It was good. The games were good last year. They were
The
close.
games were good, but the results
games were
still
good.
the same. Baker Mayfield 5-1 versus the Bengals. That's consistent. That's been 3 years. That's the
A
1 year.
trash Bengals defense.
Y'all always got a trash defense. We beat y'all when y'all were good in 2014. Like, it's always the same thing with y'all. Y'all don't win in the playoffs. It's cool. It's cool. I know it hurts that the Browns have more recently won in the playoffs.
We just never went 0-16, and that's all I can say.
Hey, 0-16 got his Myles Garrett. Like, 0-16.
Oh, it's worth it now? 0-16 is worth it? Yeah.
If not, would you not?
Listen, 1-15 was an option. 2-14 would probably got you Garrett as well.
No. 1-15 wouldn't have done it. 1-15 wouldn't have done it.
But I'm not gonna sit here and say that the Browns aren't good though. Like the Browns are good now, but y'all gotta be humble. Y'all gotta be humble, or y'all gonna get humble when y'all
got to enjoy this moment because it's the Browns. This could end literally at any moment. Which means it's the Browns.
I'm just wondering why the Bengals fans are choosing this year to put. I know y'all got the new jerseys. I would wait like a couple of years when y'all actually got a whole team together to really like puff the chest out. This is not a good opportunity.
The Browns are puffing y'all chest out.
Because we won last year. What are you talking about? Yes, y'all had the 5th pick in the draft. Y'all should not be poking your chest out.
You won what? What trophy did you get for winning? Almost to the Super Bowl.
They're putting the banner up. Almost. Came with one drive of beating the Chiefs. It's on the banner.
What did they say? Almost doesn't count.
Because the only thing you could be proud of in football is winning the whole thing, right? There is no pride in.
You just no. There's cognitive dissonance happening right now. When I said earlier that 12-4 was a good year for the Steelers, I got shut down on that one. So
because of the way
there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance happening on this show.
No. Tony, first of all, you be intellectually dishonest with that take. All right?
I am not.
Because you know why the Steelers season gets shat on because of the way it ended.
Did losing to Chad Henne in the fourth quarter feel great, Browns fans? We want to talk about that. Like this team didn't lose to Patrick Mahomes; they lost to Chad Henne. That's what
Patrick Mahomes played 3 quarters in that game. First of all, and then am I supposed to be upset that the Browns lost in the second round to the Chiefs? Were you betting on the Browns to beat the Chiefs before that game started?
If Chad Henne had played a fourth quarter in which the Browns were down by a touchdown, yes, I would have bet on the Browns. And everyone in chat, everyone watching this show thought the Browns were going to win that game. The fact they didn't was an upset, no doubt. In the fourth quarter, hold on.
Tony Romo on the broadcast saying it was going to be a blowout.
They're down by 1 with the ball. They're down by 1 score with the ball. Chad Henne's everyone thought the Browns were winning that game. No one in chat. And certainly not a Browns fan thought they were going to lose that game.
Q. What he's saying is,
I love how everybody's like the Browns should have made the Super Bowl last year.
No, Q.
You thought they were going to go. Hold on, no. Because Tony said they were going to go 9-7 last year.
I did.
They said 9-7 as well.
Nah, I said 11-5. I've been saying that because the whole thing I said last year was when we first did this, when you guys first got OBJ, we were all saying 11-5, and I was saying last year what happened outside of the Browns getting a better offensive line. So I never said that the Browns were going to be 9-7. I had you guys like either second or first for the division, at least winning 10 to 11 games.
Then let me do what I always do. We throw this all on Tony. It was Tony that thought the Browns were going to be trash.
I said 9-7 in a playoff team, which is exactly what they were. They were 9-7, and what did they finish? They were the 6th or 7th seed, right? Were they the 6th or 7th?
The Browns were 9-7 last year.
No, they were 11-5. You hold on. You had the Steelers 6-10. You want to talk about whose predictions were more off? I had the Steelers 11. I had the Steelers 11-5. The Ravens 11-5. The Browns 9-7, and the Bengals 4-12. I literally hit on the Ravens and Bengals exactly. We're 1 game off on the Steelers and 2 games off. Okay, I was more wrong. You were more wrong about the Steelers than I was about the entire division. So let's not go back to what our predictions were for last season.
I was right about the soul of the Steelers. The Steelers were a 6-10 team at the soul, and I read that. All right.
Okay, well, listen, they were 12-4 in fact. So, you were a little off on that prediction. But, if you want to talk about predictions, we can, because I was right and you were wrong.
I was talking about the soul of the team was 6-10.
Oh my God.
The schedule, in fact, was 12-4.
Hey, listen, if the season had kept going, they probably would have been a 6-10 team. But luckily, it ended right there, so I didn't have to watch any more of that trash.
So let's move on. You see, this is what
all we know is Bengal fans. Y'all not in the conversation this year.
This is the whole. This is, by the way.
Oh, you always in the conversation when you got Joe Burrow. So
It's May 11th.
that gap won't be.
This is going to be the entire show between now and September.
Oh yeah, it is. Look, let's move on. Let's
Let
move
Joe
on.
Burrow win 2 games at home before we start adding them into this conversation like that. I'm just saying.
The Soul Train.
Y'all would trade
Homie
Joe
gotta
like
play.
Baker Mayfield for
Yo,
Joe
yo.
Burrow in a heartbeat.
Okay. I think some of these super chats might also. So
Go ahead, let's get it.
Soul Train. Shout out to you. Your happy birthday, Q. Check Bot Squad. For some reason I can't put it on, but thank you for that donation. And another one for him says, I see Jamar Chase as a better Amari Cooper. Schwartz can be a Mike Wallace or Jacoby Ford. Needs time to develop regardless. Steelers need to run the ball to keep Ben alive and keep the defense rest. And we have one more.
Completely rational super chat. I like that one.
Yeah. That was not bad. And by the way, guys, this is what super chats do. They derail the show.
Did it get derailed right there? I couldn't tell. I blacked out for 10 minutes.
For real dismissal this month. Sorry. Shout out to you. Thank you for the donation. AFC North Rookie of the Year. And why will it be Harvin?
Yeah,
Definitely not Harvin. I think you misspelled Jamar Chase. But it's
260-pound punter. You heard? 6 foot, 260. By the way,
well, he's going to have a lot of opportunities.
He's big, and I don't mean tall.
So
he might lead the AFC North.
So getting out of the way, the Browns won't have the offensive rookie of the year, probably, right? It's
just rookie of the year, not offensive. Just complete rookie.
I think it's just rookie, so it could be defensive too.
Because Harvin will be special teams player, rookie of the year, right?
I think Bateman or Chase will probably be in the lead because they're offensive players.
And Harris, yeah.
And Najee Harris, I think. Najee Harris, if Canada fixes the running game, I mean, they're going to build a friggin' statue for the guy outside the stadium. So
yeah, and then JOK is a dark horse, but we'll see. But that's probably the Browns' really only rookie of the year, because I don't think Greg Newsom's going to get a ton of interceptions in his first year.
You see, there's a chance he doesn't start, right? If Greedy comes back healthy, he may be in a battle,
he cannot start. We know for a fact JOK is going to be the will line.
No, he's going to lose out to
Sione Takitaki ain't stopping him doing nothing in cover.
I'll super chat $100 if we don't see the Browns. Wait, free Wi-Fi. Who are you a fan of? Hold on, put that back up. I know it's not a super chat, but I need you to put that back up.
That's my mistake.
I need to know who free Wi-Fi is a fan of. This is
I don't know.
Because if it's the Bengals, that's a ridiculous statement. Or the Steelers is a ridiculous statement. But the Ravens did sweep us last year, so I have to take that trash talk from the Ravens. Yeah, because they did sweep the Browns.
He hasn't said. Free Wi-Fi.
Well, he must be a Bengals fan. He must be a Bengals fan.
No, there's a Ravens. Okay.
The Ravens.
Ravens.
I'll accept that trash talk. That's acceptable.
Ravens, baby. Okay. By the way, guys, we have 348 people enjoying this live stream and all this. Only 125 likes, so please make sure you give it a like. Some people are like, hey, I want to support the channel. Give it a like. Comment on the replay. Those are 2 big things. And obviously, we made it to 4K subscribers. So obviously, sharing the content also
flew by it too, by the way. So many of you have joined in the last week. We went from 3,900 to 4,100 just in like 3 days. It was amazing. So thank you to everyone who subscribed recently. That's awesome.
We appreciate it for sure. And hey, in the next couple of weeks, as we go into the death season, the rankings for positions are gonna be lit. So you wanna be hitting that bell so you know when we go live, because hey, if you just saw what happened
when are we doing the quarterback one? I might conveniently be out of town that week.
No, we'll wait for you, Tony.
I appreciate that. It's really nice of you guys. Yeah,
we'll make sure. We'll factor in the entire room too, man. The competition for number 2.
Oh, do you want to? Wait, you don't want to include Dwayne Haskins in the conversation. I mean, they might be QB1 room. When you think about 2 future Hall of Famers in the same room, I mean, I think we should probably only do starters just to keep it fair. I think we should just do starters only. Otherwise,
who's to say Mason Rudolph is going to win that job in training camp?
Oh, Mason Rudolph did get an extension, by the way. Yeah. He's on the roster now for 2022.
He's the future.
Wait, can we talk about what a moron Mason Rudolph is for signing that contract? He signed a contract for $3 million next year. As I've said before on this show, I don't think it's likely, but it is certainly possible that Ben gets benched for Mason this year. Mason looks good, okay, because he looked good against the Browns.
He's not a free
agent. And now he can't go get paid. This moron has screwed himself from getting paid. Imagine he could Matt Flynn his way to a gigantic contract, and instead he's like, no, I'll sign for $3 million.
Nobody will get him, other than the Texans. Nobody will get him money.
Nobody would have given Nobody would have been like, hey, let me give Mason Rudolph $3 million.
No, first of all, there's somebody who gave Andy Dalton like $8 million in 2021. So like, if Mason Rudolph looks half good,
proven.
Andy has not one playoff game.
Go Andy Dalton out. There are people giving Ryan Fitzpatrick money. Like you act like they don't give mediocre quarterbacks money every year.
I don't even think he's a mediocre.
Kirk Cousins got $68 million guaranteed right now. Like if he looks half good and he's young. There'd be somebody. If he had a good season and the Steelers like surprisingly go like 9-9, what was the
9-8? I hate it.
9-8.
This man threw
like
for 1,700 yards and had 13 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
But if he looks decent for a year,
I mean, those numbers should be flipped for everyone. What everyone says about Mason, his numbers should be flipped. Right? It should be 9 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
It don't matter though. If he looks decent for a year, there'll be some team. The Saints will sign him. Like there'll be some team dumb enough. Look, what they gave the boy? They gave the one boy like $25 million in paper money.
Taysom Hill, it's fake. It's fake money, but
like
they gave him a suitcase full of Monopoly money, but
somebody would give Mason Rudolph money, but that's Myles Garrett's fault. That Mason took that contract because of the helmet swing a couple years ago. That's why Mason might have to consider suing for damages.
Love that.
Okay. So Ace, brother, where they can find you, man?
You guys can find me at New Stripe City on YouTube and on Twitter, and of course at the AFC North Talk. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can hear when we go live.
Q.
You can find me on youtube.com/Quincy Carrier. You can also find me on this channel just ramping up that Bengals slander because y'all coming out of full force. I appreciate it. Y'all showing up. Last 2 years, I ain't heard much from y'all, so I haven't really been jumping on Bengals fans. It's really been Steeler fans and Raven fans, but y'all happy. Y'all got y'all chests popped out. I saw Brian Pillman Jr. wrestling in Bengals gear. Like, y'all ready to go this year. Y'all excited. New stripes are here. I like to see y'all come out here. Just know. Since y'all out here, the slander's gonna step up because y'all
ready.
Y'all feeling good right now. But it's May. Every team thinks they're gonna make the playoffs in May. You know what I mean? 32 teams gonna make it.
Tony.
You can find me on Twitter at Steeler Country. You can find me on Locked On Steelers every Tuesday, and you can find me here 5:45 p.m. Eastern time here on AFC North Talk. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Steeler Country, with Tony Spino. We're going to do a breakdown, a tape breakdown of Najee Harris this week. Keep a lookout for that.
Where's the Chase Marsh tape breakdown? I want to see that.
Cassius Marsh. I can do it. I can do a Cassius Marsh breakdown. It's easy. It's just, we want to see the what I forget what he had, like 25 snaps. I think you want to see the 25 worst snaps of any outside linebacker. And then our defense. I don't want to. I hate Keith Butler, but he actually. Keith Butler, our defensive coordinator, actually got up during the draft. Like, we really like Cassius Marsh. He's got a lot of traits we like. We can build on him. Keith Butler is a moron. Always has been. Always will be. He gets by because of the raw talent that defense has.
Okay.
Sorry.
You can follow me at XCG Sports everywhere. Also, don't forget AFC North Talk for all polls. AFC North. Hey guys, it was a good one. Next week is about to be fired. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Have you ever?
Are you listening? Damn.